The first thing I wanted to mention on this one is you'll want to be working inside a Maya project. You mentioned in your post that it included a breadcrumb of all the subfolders where the scene and assets are housed, which is true, and it also means that you were not putting your scenes and assets in the right places. So one thing we did in module 1 was mentioned, I think it's page 4? Um, so 6. Page 6 is setting up and using projects. So there's a video here and a description of the project folder and all the subfolders. And it becomes increasingly important to use this. Mostly, it means that you get all the files you need, and it also means that the I don't have to go hunting for reconnecting textures because I had to reconnect these when I opened it up. Um, it didn't automatically find these. And so what you want to do is, if you're not already making a project, go to File, Project Window, and you can say New and give it a name. You can browse for where you want to put it. Um, then it'll automatically make all these subfolders, and then you hit Accept. And then you save all your scenes files in the scenes directory of that folder, and put all your source images, such as your texture images and these images here, these reference images, you put them all in the source images directory. There's a directory, it's just source images, all one word, source images, and you put all those images in that directory. And then before you open the file, you set your project, and so it knows where to look for the scene files and where to look for the source images. So for the rest of this course, make sure you organize your stuff into a project. Onto the model, yeah, I think you follow the design really closely. I think it's looking pretty good. I'd say that this is really dense, and the topology it's both bizarre and asymmetrical. And I'm wondering how you ended up like that. Um, with these interesting kind of curving, twisting um, shapes and topology, and it's sort of denser than it needs to be. Create color set. Hmm. Poly smooth face. Will it let me take that off? It will. And one thing you'll notice, well, it's not perfect because of this pinchy area in here, but let me undo that. Whoops, let's isolate that again. I mean, no, it's pretty pinchy there too. So with that at 0, and when you're in smooth preview, the shape looks the same. So you've got all this extra detail on there that's really not adding anything to the shape. And even this looks pretty dense to me for the shape that it's describing. Um, I'm just wondering if I can tell any more about how you built this. Poly mirror, poly extrude face, extrude, tweak close border. Huh. Oh, retopo. Okay. So you're using the new retopologize thing, which is how you got the odd topology. Let me see what happened if we, I don't know if it'll like me pulling this out in the middle. It probably won't. Oh, that's interesting. So that's what you had before. Um, and then at some point you retopologized it. Let me just show you how I would probably do it. I mean, you've got some good shapes going on here, but um, where is the image plane now? Why is it? Oh, don't know why that's black now. That's really interesting. I don't know, just being funny. Okay. So probably start with a cube. Move this up here. I mean, it's interesting playing with that retopology thing, but I think it kind of, um, I don't know, it kind of makes a bit of a mess of things. And then let's Control Shift X. Let's put one here, and oops, not there. Oh yeah, no, that was what I want. Okay, and looks like I've got symmetry on already. So Control E for extrude. We'll pull these out, scale those down. Let's see where we are so far. You know what I might do is hide some of the other surfaces. Upper body, lower body. Do we have layers for those? I'm just going to make a new layer for those and hide those for now. Okay. So you can see I'm actually already pretty close, just like that. That's not enough topology. I'm not saying it is, but I'm just saying, with a much simpler surface, we can have it. And then the idea is just to add in, one edge loop at a time. And then, what I haven't been doing is checking this from the side. So, let's turn off symmetry when we're kind of, well, actually we can leave symmetry on and then sort of pull these out, down. Okay, I want to make sure there's a center line. I'll hold down Control and then Shift to make sure that's exactly in the center. And then we'll pull that down a little bit. Maybe pull this down a little bit. This can go up some. And then let's add one here. So just add one at a time and then adjust those each time you add a new one. Let's, I haven't been checking it from the side view. So before I add too much detail, it's going to be important to do that. Probably should have done this earlier, actually, before I started adding so much detail. Let's see how that's looking. Okay. Not really liking how we don't have enough detail going across at each of these points, and how this doesn't. I don't know how I managed to do that. This should connect to here. So we can get. I can do a road like this, but I don't like how it kind of follows the contour of the rest of it. So one trick I like is if I hold down Shift and then start from outside of this and then cut all the way through to the other side. It kind of cuts through it like a laser beam. It does a nice straight one. And similarly, I can do that from the side here, like something like that. So it starts out straight. Yeah, it doesn't want to. we'll have to figure something out how to resolve that. But um, you know, every time I add one of these, I'm going to want to adjust accordingly. And anyway, sort of keep going from there. I think this is just a start, but um, you see, I'm getting a much, starting with a much simpler um, geometry that I think is going to be a lot easier to work with and should deform better and all that kind of stuff. Um, let's do left view. I mean, not exact, but it's getting pretty close. I think I need more detail along the back. I mean, I'm not going to just, model this whole thing to death, but hopefully this will give you a somewhat better workflow. I need to do something to even up the topology here. I'm not real happy with that. And I don't like how I have these sort of flat surfaces. Like you want to take these guys, and move those in a bit, and same with these. Um, and maybe kind of round out the chest a little bit, like if these go a little further back, this could go forward a bit, sort of round that out, and so on and so forth, and just keep working the shape, but just build it with as few points as possible. And that retopo thing just kind of made a big mess of everything, and it's going to make your future steps like rigging and texturing much more difficult with that kind of crazy topology. Anyway, let's look at the rest of the stuff. Did you do the retopo? Again, way too dense, so dense. I'm guessing oh, well, this explains it right here. Um, this smooth, you don't need that, certainly. Let's just hit that, select, and then delete. I can't even, there's absolutely no difference between this one and that one as far as the shape, right? And this, I mean, you can, if you want to even out the topology, you can maybe add another edge loop or two, but there's no reason to make it that dense. It's just, again, it's just going to cause you woe later on. I'm going to hide this thing. Let me say that needs more work. These actually look quite like. Um, those look like they were built pretty cleverly. These buttons are looking pretty good. Looks like you've got some intersecting surfaces issues here. You might want to, well, I guess it has to intersect. Just it's a little uneven there. I like this whole thing there. That's looking pretty good. Did you just add did you just make those hard edges, I guess? Maybe a bit much. I don't know. If you like them, that's alright. Maybe you could push in the back here. Choose B for soft select, but then hold down B, click and drag to make that smaller, and just kind of push those in a little bit and help you give that look of the knee from the back. The boots are okay. I think they could use. I'm not really liking how the bottom of that's built, but it's alright. Should work. But I think it's just too much of a perfectly straight cylinder. You just might try to give it some more shape, maybe even playing with a deformer to give it some shape, but just, maybe it's thinner and wider, or, some more shape from the side, but it's just a bit too much of a perfect cylinder. And I think I could say that for the bottom of these legs too. Even just taking, like, just going to turn off soft select, like scaling something like that out a little bit, just some little touches like that I think could help. And yeah, the hat's pretty good. I don't. Yeah, and you have these little guys there. That's nice. Um, that should be okay. Maybe a bit thin. Maybe it could be a little thicker. Uh, yeah. Oh, and you've already done hands. These you should look at the module for hands because these aren't well built. You're going to want it to be to have the fingers extrude out from the base of the hand. So try to do a hand a little bit closer to the way it's built in the modules because that's not going to work very well. Where you just kind of stick cylinders or whatever that is, a sphere or whatever. What is that? I don't know what it started out as, but try to build it more like just where it's one continuous thing because that's not looking so nice. And it's going to not even look worse when you actually start bending them. So yeah, so some stuff to improve, but overall, you're doing a good job of matching the reference.